Hi, Isaiah. It's really a pleasure to host you today. Welcome to Coffee Chats by Felistas. We all know that we'll be celebrating International Education Day tomorrow. And with the theme of changing course, transforming education, this is a very, very vital key area where we should focus when we are thinking of bringing up young innovators and people that are ready to innovate and change the society and solve problems that are actually affecting us. I know COVID-19 has been a lesson, and post-COVID-19 is also a challenge, especially when we talk about education. The education routine changed in some countries because there was lockdown. And lucky enough for countries that have good technology and internet services, it was really easy to transform this or give education to their citizens. Give, for example, when COVID started, I was in China, and it was very easy. It was a very easy transition to the internet-based learning because the already system available or in place to assist learning even when it's on lockdown. So it's a pleasure to have you today and give us a little bit about your experience and your journey as an innovator in Tanzania and in Africa. So before further ado, Isaiah, please just introduce yourself, say who you are, what you're doing, so that our people who are listening to us can understand who you are. Karibu sana, Isaiah.
Asante sana, Felista. Thank you so much for having me today. As you've mentioned, my name is Isaya Yunge from Tanzania. I am an innovator, a tech innovator in Africa. Well, I work between Africa but I'm based in Tanzania. So I work my life journey or my skill set, or rather, I love to be identified as an African problem solver, because all of my work is always around social challenges that I face, that I see across societies in my country and Africa at large. And I've always been a person who asks, what can I do about this? It's like, I think a couple of years ago, I had this a decision, rather, not to use my voice whenever I speak, not to use my voice to complain, or waiting for a leader, parliament, or, to tweet government council to solve issues that we're facing. And I took an approach, instead of me complaining, what if I go out and solve that particular problem if I can? And in turn, I saw a lot of people, when you do that, people will come to support you. Either they will join you into that particular mission, either they will add knowledge and experiences solving that kind of problem, right? And some will go even further to enable you, whether it's tools, money, or finances in that sense. And so I kind of enjoy this space, because anytime you take a mission to solve something, along the way, people always join to support you to reach desired goal. And the goal is always to solve social problems that exist, and that's their pain in our own life. It could be our personal life, our families, in our country. That's what I do always. So I work in technology, been working with innovating education sector. At some point, we launched an education product a couple of years back, and currently working on IoT, Internet of Things, combining software and hardware with studying the Africa's user centric in the African perspective, looking at the traditions, culture, norms, and just asking questions. What would be, for example, what would a speaker that is built for Africa look like? What would it do? And apart from many other things, inspiration for this kind of solution with me is like, you've seen this Alexa things, Google Homes. This is tech that use AI. It's a hardware that use artificial intelligence given capacity by human being to think, reason, maybe not listen, to think and act and maybe research and execute a particular problem or a task. And one of the best ways to communicating with this kind of AI is by natural language processing, using voices. You can speak with them, and you can give them command by your voice. Now it's like I'm speaking to you, but I'm speaking to a machine, and it will respond to me. And my lessons or my, and I remember I was doing this show in Barcelona, and I was shocked to see, and I was asking, why all the tech, all my accent is from Tanzania. So if you look at English language there, English literature, we have West Africa English literature, we have East Africa English. You can start the connotation, the pronunciations, the diction of words. You can go to South Africa English literature. It's two different, like there are 4 kind of English in Africa. And Africans don't have to speak like Americans, like Scottish, like British, like, if you live to China, you see how Chinese English is, the diction, the accent, different. It's not UK. And my desire has been to make my generation to feel safe and comfortable speaking their own accent, even if they're speaking English or French, because they are not white, Scottish or UK. So but one way that makes our young people in Africa inferior to how we communicate, you mentioned about Kenya being very confident with how they communicate, because part of embodying the confidence is making you allow, this is okay, this is how you speak, this legion, this is how you pronounce it. It's because of the precedent accent of your language that you were born with, and it have effect into that. So my question was, if you look at Alexa, Google, and all these kind of things, what did you see? Alexa with an accent, but it's not my accent from where I come from. And I'll speak to Alexa, and it will say, I didn't hear that. Repeat again. So it's like, but I'm saying this is my English. This is how I pronounce it, and my people understand that. So I said, I think we have to create AI that embed in them the African accent, the African language, and African accent, whether we speak French, Arab, or English. The AI must be taught from who we are. That is very ethical when it comes to innovation, and all this tech are innovated by somebody in Europe or US is innovating for Africa, but they don't know us. So I think I didn't want to complain. I say, let me go out and create an AI technology whereby people in Gongolamboto can use whatever English they have to speak to kids in class at home during COVID. They could speak with Kaya, for example, and ask questions in their own English, and Kaya should be able to, first of all, comprehend the question, understand what they're asking for, and respond in the same manner they've asked for, because that's what they understand. And it makes them confident, feel okay, because India accent in English is different from any American or UK or Scottish, right? So that's the mission that's why I innovate. I look at small details, but they're really important in programming generation and making them confident in their own skin. And it's the beauty of diversity, by the way. When we talk about diversity, is part of that. You can't all speak like British people, but because we're not. And the diversity is we use Africans speaking, like you look at Nigerians, how they speak English, they're so proud about their own, English that speak and how they pronounce it, and it's fine. That's what diversity and human evolving or evolvement of languages and culture looks like. And so that's why I innovate for small things like that. But in a nutshell, that's what I do. I innovate for Africa. I also believe, I'm a firm believer as an innovator, to create technology that are owned, built for Africans and owned by Africans. It's a bit a challenge space or thing to think, but it's a belief that I have. Funny thing, like, can you imagine, since I'm younger, growing up with my grandma at home, I've seen television sets and radio sets, but all these sets were made in either Japan or China or US or Europe. For all these years, I've never seen a TV set. If it's a technology which is already there, a TV set which is built and owned by Africans. And this is a 1.2 billion market. We can't build and own our things. For me, I believe it's so powerful when kids would see in a TV set, a TV called Shaka Zulu. That's a different story. The empowerment of that. This is ours. it's not all these things owned by, if you go back, who owns this, who built this technology, right? So I cannot believe putting sets in African homes that also are owned and built by Africans. And that's part of my innovation and my philosophy in innovating, empowering, building African tech for Africans and empowering African areas to create for their own people and their own consumers, actually. That's my introduction. It's a very long one, but
it's okay, Isaiah. I really appreciate that you really treasure diversity, and also you said accepting who we are and innovate, be comfortable for who we are, and we go out there and innovate for Africa. We are really proud of what you do. I know about Kaya. I follow you a lot. I followed a lot of your work. You've got the Queen Award as well. There's so many things that you've done for Tanzania, and we are really, really proud. Going to the key point of now, education. I know we are celebrating International Education Day. We know how much education contributes to help us understand ourselves and also build our passion. So it gives us like an enlightenment to understand who we are, what we can do, and we can to help ourselves, our communities, and our countries. So as a young innovator, looking at the African, specifically education system, do you think our system prepares young people to be young innovators, innovate for ourselves, solve our own problems without any external support or interference? Do you think our education system really prepares young people to be innovators?
No, it doesn't. It never been for many years. It doesn't, and it's not the fault of our government, our leaders. It's also the fault of our government and our leaders. Because the reason why it's not, it's into what I know now, it's this bigger global scheme or ecosystem that we are into, and you come to understand most of these countries don't really have free will to just change their education systems. Maybe it's too risky, maybe it's too costful, but also there haven't been a will to take a moment and analyze and assess, the education output for the past 10 years. What have we been able to give out into the market in terms of graduates, the academicians have been able to put out? Let's see 10 years ago, what did you put out? What are they doing? What have they done that is contributional to the education system in the country, but contributional to the education system in Africa, but also remarkable enough in contribution to the education system across the globe, and that comes in what system change, theories, research that we've done through our academicians that the world has went and adapt and put forward. So we have been releasing out an education system whereby everyone that we put out, they are rather people who are not prepared to become innovative thinkers, people who will think outside of what a book they've read tell them to do. See, most of our education systems gives out products in terms of academicians from universities and education systems. They are only confined into what the books taught them. They're only confined into what they're able to learn in class. They would never go out of the comfort zone and think beyond a particular field, a particular book, and explore further. I remember why I say no very bold. I remember when I was in my first university here in Tanzania, my first degree, my first year at university, we were given a coursework to do, and it was a business law class. And I've went further. What I did is we've given a particular case about the closing insurance, business insurance was called proximity of influence, proximity cause, whereby you're trying to trace the nearest possible cause of a particular accident, so an insurance company can pay that person. And there's a case happening in Mbeya during those hills in between Mbeya and Iringa. There's these hills whereby there always happen many accidents, right? And so it has lain before that night. There's a heavy rain, then there's a slippery road, and then there was a drunk driver, and this person got an accident. So we were supposed to trace out what was the cause of this accident. Was the rain, was the slippery, or was a drunken driver in the other side of the road, right? And so the case was ruled in the High Court of Tanzania, and it's one we always go back into study, right? And I studied the case ruling, and somehow my imagination and my thinking, I kind of have a different theory of what would be the possibility cause, you know? So my coursework, answering my coursework, I went on and give my own argument. I did not copy the ruling of the High Court. I refer the ruling of the High Court as a reference, but I concluded with my own observation, my own recommendations, right? It's just part of, I was just maybe thinking, I don't know. And when the teacher came in to give coursework, everyone has passed 10 over 10.
Except
and
you.
He was giving this, except me. So this was the first year. He was giving out this sheet, and he said, in every, here's the right word, in every, I don't know, use msafara wa kenge, wamamba kenge akosi. No, it was used to black sheep. Every msafara wa sheep. Sheep.
Okay.
It's always a black sheep. So he called me a black sheep in white sheep journey, because that's what became in university. They used to call me black sheep. And I was called a black sheep because, and then he said, "Who do you think you are? You are not a doctor level. Who do you think you are to coach yourself? Who do you think you are to give your own opinion?" He was so angry. He put me in front of a class, and he was so angry, bashing me for giving my opinion. Like, who do you think you are, Socrates? And he mentioned, so do you think you're Socrates? Who do you think you are? You are nobody. You have not educated to give your own opinions. You answer what I teach you. And that was me in university, one of the high university in the country. And luckily, I am an unshakable optimist. You really can kill my stubbornness in comes to me thinking. I'm like, okay, this is what it is. So I'm gonna go. And I'm telling you, my teachers would say, all my classes I'll get A, because from that moment, I'll please them. I'll go after coursework or whatever. I will study the pamphlet they've given, the pamphlet. I will understand it in and out, from where the nukta was, where the comma was, and I'll get A's. But and the A's you get is not because you went further. You've learned, you've listened, you've understand. You've applied your knowledge. It's because you've went and claimed a particular pamphlet in a particular subject and actually mimicked what the teacher was speaking word by word, example by example. That makes you the best student. So no, our education does not prepare you to become, because you can't think. You're trained not to think.
Just to add on that, I know it's always frustrating when you read something and you want to explain it in your own words, and then somebody is telling you should write what the person who wrote that wrote. Because we have different perspectives of understanding a story. And that's where you get the creativity of explaining a certain scenario. So I totally understand. And we are lucky that we have literature. In literature, we used to read books. And then after reading the book, you kind of say your own story. How did you understand that story? But if literature is not your area of expertise, it's really frustrating, because maybe I want to do something else. So if you don't give me the opportunity to actually explain in my own words, you are killing that creativity thing in me. So I totally understand. So and just there and then, what do you think are the recommendations? What should we do so that people can be given more room to actually think in their own ways when it comes to answering questions, for example, or even explaining something and thinking outside the box, Isaiah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you properly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, what should be my recommendations to this challenge with our education system? I think we have to go back to the basics, and the basics is when a child is born, they come with software installed in their brain and in their mind. They come with something. And I like what you said about Kenya, that there's a system whereby a parent and a teacher has a 60% role to play. And that's what I like about this new way of thinking. Like, see students as people who have come into this world with already pre-existing softwares.
Yeah.
So they have pre-existing knowledge that we don't have only to fill them with information. We have to allow kids and young people and students to give out what they have inside them. That is creativity, and that's why when we say that, well, we don't have many employment people unemployed, and it's a funny thing to see, actually. Think about it. If you go to NIDA, a National Identification Agency, Tanzania, go to NIDA, every person they take their biometrics, you put your fingerprint. Every person has a unique fingerprint. So if you have a unique fingerprint, you will never lose, you never miss job or lose it, because you have something unique that you have, but it's inside. You've never brought it out. All you've been doing is doing things you've been told to do.
Yeah.
You've been told to do accounting morning to evening. You've told to do, but maybe you're a creative director. You can create things that the world have never seen, right? So education, and that begins from early age. You allow kids to give out what they have, what to give into them, the input that you put in them. It's only to nourish what they're going to bring out and to show the way and to lead. And so I say, what my recommendation should be, our education system should be less more of testing, less more of competition analysis, competition measurement in classes or during exams, less more of performance-based education, that you have A, B, 50, 10, less more of that, less more of ranking. Performance, of course, that's the number. Ranking as well, ranking, this best students, less more of those kind of things, and less more of too much schooling from Monday to Friday, class hours, and these class hours, students, mind you, students are not allowed, like I wasn't allowed to give out my opinion. From morning to evening, Monday to Friday, they're sitting there to listen to this teacher who's bawling, who's frustrated, who has anxiety, who's depressed, who doesn't even believe he can build a plane of his own, and he's teaching your kids and make them believe small as little as he can believe. But if a teacher would sit there and allow to be inspired by students so they can give out their half. So it's less more of those kind of schooling hours and everything. And let's do more of child perspective. What is their perspective? What is a student perspective when it comes to innovating homes for low-income people in villages? There is a perspective that will shock you when you allow people to do things like that. What is more of creativity and play? Creativity, see, kids at a young age, students, if you allow, part of the way young people learn is play. Playing is part and parcel of learning, failing, picking themselves up, and learning by doing. And giving to them the physical activity, the physical desire to do things by their physical, by their hand, by moving, just being it's a practical way of doing things. So creativity is key, and play, meaning you do it. Your exam shouldn't be about this long hour essay or ABCD, but maybe some of the way we give them exams should be this semester, for the knowledge you've learned this semester in this particular subject, 60% of your marks or measurement of your passing decision will be made for you to go and create anything you imagine from the knowledge you've received here in this class. Anything. So let them go home and create you a TV that doesn't use electricity. There's a guy in Zimbabwe using what TV does. That's what you have. That's what creativity does.
Yeah.
Because they have knowledge. Now allow them to imagine and think. That's creativity. So education like that is really good. It allows people to become innovative, and people who will never lack a job to do in their lives.
Yeah.
Let's do more of exploration. Explorers. You see, all the Lake Victoria was discovered by an explorer. Mountains, explorers discover things. Explorer invent things. So allow kids to become explorers. And also more of encouragement. Encouragement on they can always improve. They can always do better. They can always go back home with their creativity or their knowledge of their ideas and improve into those. Don't diminish or kill their ideas. You know, when I went to one of these incubation in Tanzania after 2015, I have the idea of Summer Up. And I pitch Summer Up to them and they say, this idea will never work. We don't see any way of this becoming anything. Maybe go and come back with another idea. I never been under any incubation. I went and built Summer Up and it became a bigger company whereby it became on a Forbes list. It received the Queen's Award. I was under Rockefeller 100 Innovators. I was, Harvard Innovators. Why was that? If they would only encouraged me, but you find somebody who discourage an idea because they don't see it as how you say it, and that's why we're unique. And so more of social education, whereby kids learn more of social emotional skills. This is where kids are going to win in the future. We have robots, we have AI technologies, whereby everything now can be automated by technology and systems. What is an advantage of human being, of kids from universities of this new generation, is to have social economic skills, EQ and IQ, and to be able to listen. I'm not diminishing. They still have to study physics, mathematics, computers, and microeconomics. Kids have to study microeconomics, and in particular, there must be, in Tanzania and in Africa, there must be a subject about money. What is money? Money has to be a subject from first day kids go to school. That's microeconomics, right? Then you have to teach kids about game theory. Game theory is about mindsets, about winning, about battling, thinking, about problem solving. Game theory is key. You see kids playing games and becoming big. No, it's not just a game. These are theories that make them to become problem solvers. That's what they do. So you teach kids about game theories, and they do games, they play, they create that. You have kids now, go back to kids who play games from the younger age, how they think, how they use technology and computers. They are far ahead than when we were younger. So it's game theory is key to create the next generation of generation which think and solve problems. Game theory is the top-notch place for kids to learn of problem solving. They will solve anything if at a younger age they can learn and be familiar with game theories. And the last thing, maybe two last things, they have to learn about the psychology of persuasion. Persuasion is a psychology. You see many young, why people they don't have employment right now. They don't have ajira in Tanzania or in Africa or in Kenya. They have this education, they have good English. They don't have, their psychology of persuasion is so weak. It is science of persuasion, to persuade people to give you money, to help you out, to fund you. It's never about the technology you have. It's about how strong you believe and how big your conviction in your idea, in your solution, and how you can convince people, not one time, over and over and over, until after 100 rejections, one person will say, let's do it. I'm going to support you. And that is a psychology, because if you don't have mentally, you're going to be depressed and anxiety, because you do one time, they reject you, and you give up. But if you can keep going over and over and over, it's a psychology of persuasion. It's key for kids to learn, and whatever that, and kids have to learn whatever that leads to increased emotional intelligence. Jan, I saw an article, somebody did a young boy at 16 just committed suicide, and this is, the trending is increasing, anxiety, depression, all those kind of things increasing. But what is the problem? in our culture in Tanzania and in Africa, we've never really put attention to mental health. And because we've never trained and taught our kids emotional intelligence enough, even parents to practice at home, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so I think in the future, my recommendation would be those kind of things I've given you out, an education based on skill-based education, a skill-based education that allows play, creativity, and kids to say, your son should be able to tell you what your home should be, and give him, okay, take your room and do it how you want. I want to see what's your idea, you know, and that's a way of encouragement to kids.
Yeah.
And then from you doing that, you might be surprised he might invent the next home technology because of you just giving him an idea, permission to think and create and be free to imagine.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Isaiah. You've really touched on very key areas for people who have children like me. We learn a lot because, you've talked about the last thing that is very key. Emotional intelligence is missing, especially that people are very well educated, but they don't really know how to control their emotions. So, and social media has made it very easy for people to commit suicide, to harm themselves because they feel that what they see is real. So actually giving education to children to understand that it's okay to have a C, and you can focus on something that you love and still succeed. It's really important. As much as we are told that actually, as much as the A students perform very good, we shouldn't ignore the C students. The C students have their own creativity, and you find most of the time the C students are actually owners of companies, and the A students come work for these C students. So I totally understand, and these are key areas I hope people who will listen to this conversation will put into practice from a family level, from a community level to a nation level, because actually it begins with the home. If we train our kids very well to really understand what is education in general, not only classroom education, but rather skill development, then students will be confident to do what they love most, and then they'll be able to actually use this creativity to solve problems from the community level and even expand it even globally. So thank you so much, Isaiah. Just to conclude our conversation today, I know you've introduced yourself and your journey. I know there's so many young people who have ideas, and they really want to make their ideas work, but they don't know what to do. It's really difficult because sometimes when people succeed, it's difficult for them to share their real journey sometimes, because there's so many reasons that come along. I don't blame them, but it would be really nice to hear from you. How should be a young innovator in Africa? Where should they begin? I have an idea, but I don't really know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Yeah.
I mean, thank you. That's a really important question you've asked. And actually, it's a key. I've met many young people, very intelligent. They are very gifted in terms of innovative. They see a unique way of solving problems, but they don't even know how to begin, even where to go and begin. But what's more, being an innovator is the frustration. The joy of an innovator isn't making money, and I should make it. The joy is to have a problem that it's a pain in your society or in your own life, or in your friend's life, in your family life, and the joy is when you want to solve it and you are actually able to solve it. And actually, people, they are smiling and they are happy because of what you are able to build for them. The joy is when you see the end user of your solution that becomes like a painkiller to that particular problems, have that satisfaction, that feeling of thank you, finally somebody thought of this pain, right? And that's the biggest joy. Money will come as a reward, but the joy is to solve problems and make people, my personal goal is to delight people's lives, make people have an easy life and feel joyful living, and if I can make people joyful by using any of my technology, I would die as a person in that sense. So where do they start? I was starting a very, very key point that I learned later on, and it will be my struggle. How do you, first of all, you start in your room, you start in your phone, you start in your scrubbing board, you start in your notebook, where you scrub your stuff, or you start here. You don't start any further. You start with what you have, your pencil, a pen, computer, or phone. That's where you stand. You see, it's easier to tell people ideas or to take a napkin and draw and show them a route map of your solution and how it works. So draw things down, write that particular technology or code, how it works, how it functions, who to assist, who to help, who is a potential person to help you out, who will become stakeholder in terms of compliance in the government, what's the government, so map all that things and keep working on that, and then find similar people who think like you, who see the same problem as you see. Because when you're starting, you don't have money to innovate. So you're going to find people who have skills you don't have, but who also see the same problem or challenge you're seeing, So it's cheaper. You find one person, so you now 2 people seeing the same problems, and you have different skill sets. And if you combine them, now you might have an MVP, a minimal viable product that you can just demo anywhere and show people, and then pick more interest from people, right? What do you think about this? You go to market to mama, I have a solution to help you the business. What do you think about this? Maybe, okay, can I put in your phone, use it? Very basic. It's buggy, whatever. It's buggy, it's crashing, it's fine. But see, but it's doing this. Maybe it could be. So you start from there. It's not even from a bigger level. Now, you also have to be. Innovation in Africa, entrepreneurship is hard. It's depressing. It's hard. You're asking me earlier on when I got here, Isaiah, why are you like that? You lost weight, and you will do this. You have this moment every time. Sometimes you won't even have food. People will have this name of you as an entrepreneur. They'll think you're successful, but maybe you have 6 months, you are struggling to survive. Maybe you have a year and you're struggling to survive. Lucky if you live at your parents, if you live in your own house, you're struggling with rent. So you have this idea which is bugging you in your mind, you can't sleep. And then you have a landlord trying to make you, leave the house or evacuate, or you have no place to live. And, and for younger people, and I'm going to speak for younger people, they're grown, they will have maybe a girlfriend or a boyfriend. There's another layer to that. There's a family layer as well. So it's not an easy thing. It's difficult. It's hard. And the hardest part is I'm mentioning girlfriend, family, or society around you. You also have to convince people to understand you, because you always been doing this innovation for the past 4 years. You're still depending on us. There's no money. You can't you can pay your own rent. You can buy your own food. What are you doing? You're a failure. You're a loser. Go there. Do this. But you believe in this. It's going to take 10 years to make sense. It's going to take time. It's not tomorrow. I'm telling you this. It's not tomorrow. So you have to have, and I talk about emotional intelligence, and that's a mental stability and agility that you must have, the resilience to go through life whereby you seem like crazy. No one sometimes people would even ridicule you. They'll think you're crazy, You think it's fashion to be employed at PwC and have a car immediately. But sometimes your vision and your technology, maybe it will help 20 million people per day in the next 20 years. Do you have the ability to believe in the future you're seeing? You see, you're building. Most innovators, they see not today, they see 10 years, 5 years from now, what will happen. So you must have the mental strength to persevere, to wait, to go through those tough first time. If you look at the most millionaires, I tell you, the point I was sleeping in a coach, I was sleeping in a car. These are really true stories. Some will have depression where they gain weight and lose control. They Some will they lose weight and become frustrated. Some will go mad. They look like they're crazy. And so it's not easy if you're an African innovator. And the last part why it's not easy, because our parents, our elders, our government systems, our wealthy people in Africa don't understand our generation. We are actually not in the same direction with different, we are like this. So we're going to clash somewhere. So unless one has to somehow bend, we meet somewhere, because all our wealthy African wealthy people, all they know is building skyscrapers, is building hotels, is building buildings, is building buildings, is not innovating in the next cutting evolution technology in health, in agriculture sector. You understand?
Yeah.
In water sector, it's not there. They don't see that you can invest in you 7 billion today. In the next 20 years, you have this African unicorn. They don't see. They want now, money in DLL. You know.
Yeah.
And so you're going to not have financial support. Our banking system in Tanzania is even worse. Better Kenya. It's worse. The bankers, the banking industry, they don't even think. They're not creative. They can't support. How come you're telling an African innovator like Isaya to give you I'm looking for 4 million USD from a bank, NMB, for example, and they're telling me to give them a collateral worth for 4 million USD. I don't have that collateral. So I'm competing with Chinese entrepreneurs in Africa, innovators, who come to Africa with collateral-free loan from the government.
Yeah.
The government, other people, they're given loan by the government in China to come to conquer Africa. They come with 20 million USD. A young person from Xi'an University, from Wuhan University, from whatever university in China, they come, they see, they support a market in Africa, they come with 20 million USD collateral-free loan from the government to come and win Africa. They win. They launch techno, they win. You understand? They launch Transhon, they win. My project needs that money. I go to my bank, I'm crazy. You are struggling to live. No, we can't give you. You have this product you don't have, you know?
Yeah.
So it's tough to innovate if you're an African. Our government, our banking instrument, our financial enablers, they don't understand where the world is and where we are going. They are left out. They are actually 20 years back. So if you want to win, I used to be against, I'm Afrocentric, I'm pro-Africa. But I am not going to see young people who are creative and innovative committing suicide after 7 years because they never have support in Africa. So I am now championing a new lot for African innovators. Get out of Africa, leave Africa, go to US, go to UK, go to Japan, go to Russia. Rather, if our government doesn't help you to innovate for Africa, go help Russia to innovate for Africa. Why do you think all these Kenya and Nigeria companies they have a parent company in the US and they're building for Kenya, they're building for Nigeria, right? Because look at the pay stack last year, 2 years ago, they are bought for 200 million. Main one Nigeria, last year, December, a company called Main One Nigeria was bought by Equinox for 320 million USD. But an African lady who built the company, right? So if our African country doesn't understand as innovators, we have to go to these countries and sell our innovations to other companies out of Africa who understand our innovations. I have some of my friends, one of my friends from Namibia, he's an innovator. He works at Daimler in Germany. Daimler is the company that creates and owns Mercedes-Benz and I think BM, or from what I'm saying about Mercedes-Benz, right? Yeah. So he designed a car technology, right? And he went and sold the patent technology to this company. And he was paid one time big money. It's good. But if his country would have helped him, the patent of that technology would have been in Africa. The loyalty would have been in Africa. The franchise would have been from Africa. But because our leaders don't understand, you cannot kill yourself now.
Yeah.
Because the chances they have as innovators is now to go to work for these other companies where they can build this tech. And when Africa owns some of these technologies and it owns a patent, the intellectual property rights, the copyrights, it's something transformational in itself on how Africa gain and makes money and empower the next generation of innovators. So I think for innovators, it's difficult. If your country can't really support you, if the ecosystem doesn't understand you, it's okay. It's okay because I'm a Christian. And the Bible says, go and dominate the earth. So you have no jurisdiction that you only have to innovate for Tanzania. If Tanzania doesn't understand you, the earth in Russia will understand you. You still have mandate and power and intelligence and ability to innovate there. If Kenya doesn't understand you, go to Morocco. Go to Uganda, Uganda will understand you. I'm saying don't be confined in Tanzania, go to Zambia. If Zambia will welcome you, go to Zambia. If Zambia doesn't, go to Nigeria, Nigeria will take you, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes these young people are ahead of time and they're ahead of everyone, and they can't kill themselves. They can't give up. They have to go. Last 2 weeks, there's a news in TBC in Tanzania whereby an innovator in Kibaha designed his own machine to purify this palm oil, and refine and sell. He didn't have any certification, was not formally given permission with all the regulators, the TMDA, or all those kind of people, and TBS, Bureau of Standards. And they went, the police and these people in this Bureau of, the agents who control the Bureau of Standards of Product, they went and confiscated him, shut down his operations, and took him to confinement. This is an innovator who has innovated a solution to purify oil. It should be the task of the government and all its agents to go out and take him and purify and modify his technologies and make it much more better and safe. And empower him, not confiscate him, not scare innovators. That's how Tanzania thinks. So if our leaders in regulations think like that, let's go to China. Let's help China dominate Africa. Let's help Rwanda dominate Tanzania. If Tanzania like you go out to help Kenya win the M-Pesa from Kenya to here, but it came here, it was rejected. So you go to Kenya and bring back M-Pesa here. That is a lot of innovation. It's not about against the country. It's about you're going to build solution for humanity. That's what I'm saying. Go out of your own country because you're creating innovation to help humanity forward. It's not about this particular country. So this country doesn't understand you. You still have to help humanity thrive. You still have to have a contribution as an innovator to humanity. There must be Felista who gets a contribution in the history of the world. And if that contribution won't be acknowledged in Tanzania, it has to be acknowledged in Kenya, or Uganda, or Nigeria, or Morocco. You must do that.
Thank you so much, Isaiah. That's really, really key. Where the generation doesn't understand young people, innovators really need a lot of support. You have an idea, you need some support to push up your idea, to actually expand that idea to serve a lot of people. But if we have people who shut down this creativity, it's really difficult. As you've said, go anywhere, make a social impact that will actually save humanity. It's really, really important that you've shared this. I know there are people who have ideas, they don't know what to do, they're really confined in one area, waiting for support or funds or scholarship, or, they haven't thought that they can go somewhere else as Tanzanians and also make an impact and be recognized as Tanzanians that have really saved humanity. Just a clear example, we have people who are in the US, we have writers who have written books, have really made breakthroughs, and they've actually made our country proud. So that's a really good example. You've talked about Fernandez. He has gone out. He's still a Tanzanian. He's still a proud Tanzanian, and he has saved a lot of people. So it doesn't really matter who benefits, but as long as your creativity has saved mankind and created a social impact, that's the main key. Thank you so much, Isaiah. Yes?
I think the main key of innovation or innovators, all of them, it's not really money. I tell you, it's not really money. The joy is to serve humanity. To see people delighted at the lowest moment, at their lowest point in life, at the discomfort, that you can bring a solution that gives them comfort and make them joyful, enjoy their day and enjoy their life. That's the joy of any innovator. So that should never have a limit. Meaning, if you're doing for humanity, you can go to any place, anywhere in the world and do that.
Thank you so much for your time, and I hope everybody who will listen to this chat will benefit, not only for the innovators, but also for people who are raising innovators, because the future is so bright. And we understand we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. If we don't have innovators, if we don't have creative young people, these SDGs will not be met. So thank you so much for sharing. And just one last word before we close. What do you have to say to young people who are innovators and they are looking forward to change the world in the 21st century, Isaiah?
Thank you so much. To change the world as a young person, entrepreneur, innovator, leader, a writer, we have to, I've learned this, and it's a very practical way of making sure the older generation is on board, because we can't keep complaining that they don't support us. So how do we bring them to support us? And we have to make our older generation to think that they are honored, they are respected, that their contribution to humanity is honored, is seen, is identified, is recognized by our generation, you know? And so we have to make them comfortable, not see us as competitors, as harmful disruptors. And so how we do that, we have to involve them in our innovation and make them know that we need them from the get-go of our innovations. So involve them into the brainstorming sessions. And you see their perspective, they see your perspective as well. Don't just go and pitch something which is ready. Also, we have to be willing to take their input, and because they also have experience. They are more wiser given the years they've lived. So they have something, of course, that we have to tap into. And so if you can win to harmonize how we work with the older generation in politics, those who have money in finances, and make them, you see, there's no one without the other. We actually need each other. And then we open their eyes to start giving us attention, you know, testing, working with us, maybe empowering us well, right? So I think the best way for a young person is, please, before we do all these things, we can't complain that the government, the regulations are bad for us. But what if you can go to the prime minister office and have a chat with them and pitch them what we see and paint them a 5, 10, 20 years what we see, and then listen them give us a response. But the moment we leave their office, we leave them thinking. There's an effect that we leave them thinking. And that's how we lob for them to come and rally for us and build a conducive environment for us, because they have to feel they are part and parcel of our journey as creators.
Thank you so much for making time, and we look forward for feedback from people who listen to this podcast, and I hope it will be very fruitful and an enlightenment to many young people looking forward to change their lives, to change the community, to change their societies, and actually make a breakthrough through the global market. So thank you so much, Isaiah, and from me, it's bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.